All right, welcome back, everybody. So we are doing metallics up next here. So we're going to be doing something similar to what we were doing for the canopy prep. We've got our Iron Warriors. You could use something like Lead Belcher. There are other metallics from like Army Painter and Vallejo. I find GW is just smoother and more consistent than those ones for me. But I do cut them again with my my silver and my burnt iron here. Actually taking a look at the artwork again, it's looking fairly dark. So I think we're going to use steel from Vallejo Metal Color, and we actually might incorporate a little bit of black as well. Yeah, I think that'll be good. So we're going to put a drop of steel down here. It's kind of a 2 steps, 3 steps even below our burnt iron, kind of our mid metal that I was using previously as the base. This one's a bit darker again as well. So we'll grab a little bit of our Iron Warriors, and I believe this Iron Warriors is darker than Lead Belcher, I would say as well, because it's almost like a black. I think you could even probably just do like a non-metal metallic, or even just like a solid black. I like having some metallics on the model. There's not a lot compared to the solid kind of opaque plates and stuff. When it comes to the armor plates and the legs and the arms and the torso and whatnot, but in between them, it's nice to have something that breaks it apart. And I prefer to have at least a little bit of metallics in there. So I know some schemes really don't represent that, but a personal preference, I suppose. Okay, so I also knocked down the brightness on the PPC a little bit. I was thinking maybe it looks a little darker in the artwork if it was a different color than the blue. I'm glad I changed it so it wasn't just solid blue. It's just a little bit too much blue for my taste, especially with the hands being blue, like the fists and whatnot. But once we get the kind of the in between his legs, like the I don't know what you call them. These kind of like rotational points here, pivot points for the legs. His hips are the actuators, I guess, hip actuator. And then the shoulders and the arms, I think it'll start to break out nicely. We'll have some good variations in the color across the model, and it won't look so blue. I'm going to grab a little bit of black as well. I've got Vallejo black, or AK Interactive black. So I'm going to put that up here, just a little dot. And I think I'm going to start, usually I would start with my darkest metal, but because the mech is so dark in the artwork, I think we're going to mix a little bit of black here in with the steel, and we'll go with a half black paint, half dark metallic mix. Yeah, that's quite dark. That looks about right for the artwork. Okay, and that would be, it seems to be the excuse me, sorry, the laser. Actually, most of the metals, I'd assume it would be the PPC as well. The only downside to having a very dark barrel on a laser is you're not going to be able to do a burn effect or a laser kind of heat effect as easily, because you do need somewhat of a moderate silver or metallic to have that color transition be very apparent. You could scar the end for sure and just have it go to like kind of a black. But generally, if I'm having a barrel just have black on the end of it, that's more something like an autocannon. So I'm just painting the nice even coat to the bottom of the lasers. I believe medium. I think it's 4 medium lasers in the chest and the torsos. So they've got a little bit of luster to them, not a lot though, because the opaque black paint really knocks down the shine of the metallics. SRM launcher. A lot of times if I'm painting a scheme that has a lot of solid colors in it, like a lot of green and like Eridani Light Horse, or sort of light Keratin mechs. This step is a big game changer for the overall feel of the model. Okay, so now I'm going to try and do the. I will come back in with a finer tipped brush, but I'm just trying to do any of the parts that I can do with my old kind of beat up larger brush here. Yeah, anytime you have a kind of a monochromatic color scheme, it's nice to have silvers to break up or metallics to break it up, so it's not just one color everywhere. And generally, I'll actually do the metallics as one of the last steps, because I'll do all my varnishing and my other steps first, and then I'll add the dark metal on. I'll highlight it up, and I'll do the weapon effects, and then I'll leave it like that, like if it's for myself, because I know I'm not going to be doing a lot of wear and tear or handling on the metals, so I'm not overly concerned with having them be protected by a varnish, and then it also kind of knocks down the luster, the finish. But if I'm mailing it, if it's a commission or something, or something for a friend or something that I know is going to be in the mail or handled a lot, then I'll want to protect it in some way, shape, or form. Okay, so I'm going to get a little more black. Just kind of used up all that I had there. Okay, and wipe some off with a paper towel. Usually I'll load up my brush, and then I'll wipe off the excess paint on the paper towel, just so it's not a fully loaded brush coming in. If your paint is too thin or like too liquidy, you could easily have it run into the crevices or all over a panel or something that you don't mean to, which would be very unfortunate, especially with metallics, because you can clean it off, but it's really hard to get all of the metallic flake off. Okay, so looking at the arms, or the upper arm area, yeah, from the artwork, it's this whole thing across. Let me just turn it like that so you can see the whole way across here. So we've got above the arm, showing off that plate. We'll spin this guy, and I want to get inside here. It's a little awkward to hold it so you can see it, but that's the whole point, right? Just like that, and I did. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I did touch. Tiny bit of metal on the blue there. Okay, we'll just clean that up. Perfect. I'm gonna go for the underside. I do apologize if it goes out of frame quickly for a second. Sometimes I have to flip it around and need to be able to see all the nooks and crannies, make sure I don't miss anything. Any relevant pieces in there. All right, so we got our nice bright blue back. We'll throw some metallic across here. Underside. That feels good. All right. Okay, we've got some. I think the machine guns, we're going to do a bright metallic. Probably the PPC barrel as well. We'll see. A little bit hard to tell from the artwork. I believe on the back of the legs, this looks like it would be one kind of solid piece. These two parts here. So it's going to show off a little bit on the front of the leg. The knee actuator, or the knee joint, I guess. And the coverage of this is quite good. Even on just, I think we're fine with one pass with this one. We'll probably come back and do a small edge highlight. We don't really want a gradient too much, because the artwork is just kind of a solid dark gray or black metallic, and we're trying to stay fairly close to that. I think we're looking pretty good all around there. I'm going to switch over to a smaller brush just to reach in some finer areas and not get any overbrush or some spillover. I'm going to mix a little more paint here. Kind of one dollop of black and 2 of steel. Yep, feels good. So I'm going to go in. So we've done the back piece of the leg here. As you can see, I'm just going to do inside the center or across the middle of it, in behind this knee plate here. And then I'm going to try, yeah, I can do that. Try and get as much as you can. Anything you can see, I try and paint. This nice thin brush lets us just sneak right into some nice side panels. Don't have to worry about marking up the blue anywhere with our nice sharp tip. Okay, I think that's good. We've got one more pass here to do with the behind the knee joint. Right in here. Groovy, perfect. Arms, I think we'll do, definitely do the kind of arm actuator bits here, or the elbows. Like that. And then there's this kind of circular bit. Yeah, I think that could be all black. Sometimes you have to look at a piece, look at the piece you're painting, and then look what it's attached to, and decide, would I paint that? Would that be one solid piece, or would it be kind of plated on one side, or have a housing or something? That would be the underpart there. And this dark metal is definitely a lot more subtle than some other schemes. So I suppose I've done it on the one side, I should do it on the other. Actually, I think we're just going to fill in this entire kind of elbow assembly here, instead of having it be just silver in between and then plated on the outsides. Same thing over here. Okay, that looks all right. Just double checking our SRM launcher. Looks fine. Over here, there's not really any metal exposed, but we'll put just one kind of crease across there, just in case it's kind of showing. Nice. Okay, and I think that is pretty good. We'll just do a quick pass around. Probably wouldn't mind getting the back of the SRM launcher as well, instead of just leaving it blue back here. We'll leave that square component in the middle. Looks kind of like a plate. What I'm assuming is the kind of exhaust portion of the launcher. All right, that looks good. I don't know if these are lasers. I can't remember if the BattleMaster has rear mount lasers or not. I'm going to leave them for now. I'm going to check later. if it does, if they do exist, if that is a thing, then I will come back and touch them up the same way. But otherwise, I think we're looking good. I'm going to do switch over to this darker, or lighter rather, lighter silver, so we can do our machine guns here, and then we'll do some, just a little bit of highlighting on the metal. So for the barrel, so right now it's kind of that dull luster with the black and the silver mixed, or the black and the steel rather. But we will brighten it up a fair amount, coming down the tip, because we do want to be able to do a burn, kind of a burn effect on it, or a heat scorch effect. Actually, I'm just going to block this right in. And I'm just going to get a little bit of water. It's a little bit thick for doing any kind of a transition. So I'll thin it down a little bit. And I'm going to do the same thing just to the tops of the medium lasers here. Because we will have that black wash coming up still. Actually, we're going to add a little bit of a metallic definition back, just picking out some of the pieces, some of the components there. I don't like how it's just flat metal color, or flat, the dull kind of black metal. It's fine to have in the recess, but I still would like to have a type of metallic. And then same thing with the legs. I do a kind of a highlight, lighter edge there, lighter edge there. We'll leave the deeper recess part, that dark metal. PVC barrel's done. The sides of the lasers, I guess we could highlight a bit too. Hey, back. So apparently my video kind of cut out there for a second. So as I was saying, yeah, it's nice to maintain the dark component in the recesses, but it's also pretty important to have a light, kind of a lighter metallic to grab people's attention. I guess that palette's getting real busy. Camera's having trouble not looking at it. So again, we're going to do the higher portion, or the raised portion, kind of bright silver, or not bright silver, but in comparison, this is a pretty dark paint for what most people would use for a metallic. But in comparison to our dark black metal that we've mixed, it's nice and bright. So kind of a edge highlight. So we kind of did the back of these parts, and then we'll highlight the edge as well. I think that's looking pretty good. Yeah, that looks fine. And I like to do a couple scans while I'm painting, just to see if there's anything that I would also like to paint the same color. I think this vent back here should definitely follow along with actually all three. I think we'll do all three of them. We're just going to go straight to the brighter silver here. I put it a little bit thick on that one, and then I'm just going to use that as a kind of a reservoir to do the other ones. Oh, sorry. And we did spill over a bit there, but let's clean up our brush and pull that off. Okay, I think that's looking pretty agreeable. Maybe a little bit more of a metallic component down here on the outside of the leg. So because we've mixed our metallic fairly thin, if we thin it out a little bit on our wet palette, we can get a pretty translucent effect. So it's not like fully opaque coloring things up. A little more water. It's nice to have a thick paint when you're putting on an initial layer, trying to color something or set the base color for something. But usually when you're doing successive highlights or tweaks and stuff after that, you usually want to tone it down a little bit, thin it out so it's a little more translucent to work with. Okay, we will highlight the SRMs, and I think that's looking it. Just going to double check the box really quick again here and see if there's anything we glaringly missed. So just kind of the quick man's dry brush over top there with the tip of the old brush. Yeah, looks good. And I'm not too worried about doing. Usually I would do metallics in like a full silver, and then like a null oil wash, like a black wash. I'm not going to worry about that because we already have all of our dark metal in the recesses, and that's kind of a step we don't really need to take. So I think we'll finish that there for now. We will probably let this sit for a couple hours because I'm going to do the black oil wash next, and we want to make sure that we don't have any paint still fresh. You want to make sure everything's cured and finalized before you start doing oil washes. I generally put a varnish over top of it as well, just as an extra step of safety, but I will do one final pass off camera, just make sure I didn't miss anything metallics wise, and then we might possibly come and do some small accents, maybe some chevrons, or I see there's a couple little bits and bobs on there, like some red triangles, some small panel stripes, and maybe we'll hit that up before we do the oil wash.